March 3rd carries eclipse energy, and eclipses function like emotional spotlights. They illuminate what has been operating in the background and make it impossible to ignore. This is a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. Full moons already represent culmination, awareness, and emotional peak. Add the eclipse factor and the awareness intensifies. Something comes into focus that you may have been managing quietly until now. Virgo energy is about order, analysis, improvement, and control through competence. It wants clarity. It wants usefulness. It wants systems that make sense. But this eclipse is opposing a heavy Pisces presence, which represents overwhelm, diffusion, and blurred boundaries. Psychologically, this creates tension between facts and feelings, between measurable reality and emotional saturation. You may feel the urge to organize your life, fix something, clean something up, correct an inefficiency. At the same time, you may feel emotionally overloaded or mentally scattered. The eclipse highlights where you are over-functioning. Virgo can take on too much responsibility in the name of being helpful. It can attempt to fix situations that are not fully fixable. It can internalize anxiety and try to manage it through productivity. Under eclipse light, that coping mechanism becomes visible. You may realize you have been holding yourself to impossible standards, or you may see clearly where you have been tolerating chaos while pretending it is manageable. This is not just about external organization, it is about mental organization. What narratives are you repeating? What worries are you rehearsing? What details are you obsessing over? With the South Node involved in this eclipse, there is a release theme. Something habitual, something overdeveloped, something you have relied on excessively, may be ready to be shed. The key psychological tension today is this: are you seeking control because the situation truly requires structure, or because uncertainty makes you uncomfortable? Eclipses accelerate awareness. They do not create problems, they reveal them. And today, what is revealed may not be dramatic. It may simply be the realization that you cannot fix everything through effort alone.
A lunar eclipse is not just a heightened full moon. It is an interruption in the usual flow of light. Symbolically, that interruption represents awareness breaking through habit. This eclipse falls in Virgo and is conjunct the South Node. The South Node represents accumulated patterns, skills we've mastered, coping mechanisms we rely on automatically. It is familiar territory, but often overused territory. In Virgo, the South Node can manifest as over-analysis, over-responsibility, over-correction, a constant scanning for what is wrong, a belief that if you can just adjust one more detail, everything will stabilize. When an eclipse activates the South Node, it asks for release, not because the trait is bad, but because it has become excessive. Opposing this eclipse is a concentration of Pisces energy. Pisces dissolves boundaries. It blurs definitions. It invites surrender. Where Virgo seeks precision, Pisces accepts ambiguity. Psychologically, this is a tension between control and trust. Virgo copes with anxiety by doing. Pisces copes with anxiety by escaping or surrendering. Under this eclipse, you may feel pulled between these two extremes. You may swing from hyperproductivity to emotional overwhelm, from obsessively fixing details to wanting to ignore everything entirely. The deeper issue beneath both responses is discomfort with uncertainty. Virgo wants certainty through competence. Pisces wants relief from certainty through transcendence. The eclipse exposes where you are using either strategy unconsciously. With Mars also in Pisces during this time, emotions are not passive, they are active. You may feel agitated by inefficiency, irritated by lack of clarity, frustrated by people who seem disorganized or emotionally vague. But underneath that frustration may be fear. fear that you are not in control of the outcome. The eclipse does not demand perfection, it demands discernment. What truly requires your effort? What are you micromanaging out of habit? What are you tolerating because confronting it feels overwhelming? Virgo energy is powerful when it serves improvement with perspective. It becomes exhausting when it tries to eliminate all uncertainty. This eclipse can reveal where your standards have quietly become self-punishment, or where your helpfulness has turned into silent resentment. There may also be health themes, not necessarily dramatic illness, but awareness around stress patterns, sleep disruption, digestive sensitivity, nervous system overload. The body often reveals what the mind has been overprocessing. Eclipses bring culmination. Something reaches a visible threshold, a realization clicks, a pattern becomes undeniable. The question is not whether something needs adjustment. The question is whether you are willing to release the belief that everything depends on your constant correction.
On a practical level, today may feel mentally crowded. You might wake up already thinking about what needs to be handled: tasks, conversations, corrections, improvements. Virgo eclipse energy often begins as a checklist in the mind. At the same time, there can be emotional fog underneath it, a sense that no matter how much you organize, something still feels unsettled. That tension between visible order and invisible overwhelm can create irritability. Small imperfections may feel louder than usual: a delay, a mistake, a miscommunication. You may feel compelled to fix it immediately, but pause and ask whether the urgency is proportional to the situation. There is also the possibility of emotional exposure today. Someone may point out something you overlooked, or you may suddenly see a flaw in your own system that you can no longer ignore. The eclipse brings visibility, and visibility can feel vulnerable. Conversations may revolve around details, clarifications, accountability. You might find yourself wanting precision in language, wanting reassurance, wanting confirmation that things are under control. If you swing the other direction, you may feel like giving up entirely, a moment of "what's the point?" That is the Pisces polarity responding to Virgo pressure. When perfection feels unattainable, surrender can feel easier. Neither extreme is the goal. Instead of trying to fix everything, choose one thing that genuinely requires attention and handle it calmly. Instead of drowning in emotional overwhelm, articulate one feeling clearly. Today rewards small, conscious adjustments rather than dramatic overhaul. If your body feels tense, that is information. If your mind feels overstimulated, that is information. The eclipse heightens awareness so you can see what has been running in the background. You do not need to clean your entire life today. You only need to recognize where your effort has become excessive. Now let's bring this eclipse into you, sign by sign, not as prediction, but as refinement. If you're an Aries, this eclipse highlights your daily systems and habits. You may realize you've been running on stress rather than strategy. Growth for you is about precision without aggression. You do not need to attack your own inefficiencies. Adjust them calmly. If you're Taurus, this energy touches your creativity and self-expression. You may notice where you've been overthinking something that should feel natural. Growth now is about loosening perfectionism around joy. Not everything meaningful needs to be optimized. If you're a Gemini, home and emotional foundations come into focus. You may see where you've been managing internal anxiety through distraction. Growth for you is about creating one stable anchor instead of scattering your attention across 10 small concerns. If you're a Cancer, communication patterns are under the spotlight. You may realize you've been rehearsing conversations internally instead of having them. Growth lies in simplifying your message. Clarity reduces mental noise. If you're a Leo, this eclipse activates self-worth and resources. You might recognize where you've tied your value to productivity or usefulness.
Growth for you is about separating identity from output. You are not only what you produce. If you're a Virgo, this is deeply personal. You may feel exposed or hyper-aware of your own flaws. Growth now is about compassion toward yourself. Improvement is powerful, but self-criticism is not the same as growth. If you're Libra, subconscious patterns surface. Old worries, old narratives, subtle anxieties may rise. Growth for you is about observing these patterns without immediately trying to rebalance everything externally. Some imbalances begin internally. If you're a Scorpio, friendships and group dynamics may feel clearer. You may notice where you've been over-functioning within a collective. Growth is about releasing responsibility that was never formally yours. If you're a Sagittarius, career and public direction come into focus. You might question whether your current path reflects your authentic priorities. Growth lies in refining your goals rather than abandoning them impulsively. If you're a Capricorn, belief systems are being edited. You may see where rigid thinking has limited perspective. Growth for you is about allowing nuance. Certainty feels safe, but flexibility creates expansion. If you're an Aquarius, emotional depth and shared responsibilities surface. You may notice where control has become a coping mechanism. Growth is about sharing vulnerability instead of silently managing everything yourself. And if you're a Pisces, relationships become mirrors. You may see clearly where you have over-accommodated or avoided confrontation. Growth now is about balancing empathy with boundaries. As we close March 3, sit with this quietly. An eclipse does not create chaos. It removes denial. If something felt exposed today, it is not because you failed. It is because awareness reached a threshold. Virgo energy wants improvement, but improvement without compassion becomes self-punishment, and self-punishment is not growth. You may have noticed where you overextend, where you overanalyze, where you assume responsibility for outcomes that were never fully yours to control. That realization is not weakness, it is clarity. Ask yourself honestly, what am I trying to perfect because uncertainty makes me uncomfortable? Where has helpfulness turned into quiet resentment? What detail am I obsessing over that does not truly change the outcome? There is relief in releasing excessive responsibility. The Virgo eclipse does not ask you to abandon standards, it asks you to refine them, to distinguish between healthy effort and compulsive correction. If today brought overwhelm, simplify. If today brought exposure, soften. If today brought clarity, act gently on one adjustment instead of 10. You are not here to manage every variable in your life. You are here to respond consciously to what is actually yours. Awareness is not a threat. It is the beginning of cleaner alignment.